Why is the Western world so supportive of the fat acceptance movement? Majority of the West definitely doesn't criticize people who claim obesity is bad. Sure, there is a tiny crazy minority, like in every movement, that say being fat is good, but the movement for fat acceptance stems mostly from stopping those who, well, fat shame. Fat shaming isn't when you say obesity is unhealthy. It's when people ridicule and bully others for being fat. Fat shaming only makes fat people more depressed and less likely to actually fix themselves when their looks are constantly shat on. Imagine there is a drug addict. Yelling at them saying they are a filthy junkie won't really help them fix their problem and can even make it harder to do so. Because people are taking a group by the very outside extreme margin cases, conflating extremists who insist that there can be no criticism of fat people, usually keyboard warriors with too much time on their hands, and tarring everybody in the group with the same brush and then saying, they're all the same, and they're all wrong. Fat acceptance as not being fat is perfect, and nobody who is fat can ever be criticized, and being fat is the holy grail of human existence. We should all aim to be 400 pounds by the age of 30. That's a straw man figure. Like saying every feminist thinks all men should die. Or that someone fighting for climate change would stab every car driver to death if it saved the planet. Fat acceptance as, I have value as a human being regardless of my size. Acknowledgement of the things I say, the things I do, and my access to the rest of the world should not be contingent on my size. I deserve medical care, common decency, non-discrimination, and respect as a human being in all interactions that I have. I do not deserve to have entire subreddits that take pictures of fat people doing ordinary things, like going to Walmart, and then spend thousands of comments mocking them. The medical establishment should focus on educating medical workers about weight within the context of teaching them about caring for fat people, such as how to talk about diet, exercise, and health while being fat. And medical discrimination should not be allowed to perpetuate. Industries that prey upon fat people and our culture's obsession with weight, such as the diet industry, need to be more heavily regulated. People are trying to come to terms with the fact that fat people have the right to be fat in public spaces and participate in life as fat people. And they don't need to be ridiculed, mocked, or ignored. Fat people deserve to see their clothes modeled by mannequins that might affect their size, or see models that look like them. They deserve to have seats that fit them on public transport, to be able to fly in seats that don't require them to spread into the next one over, and to have access to education, etc. without discrimination. Not doing that doesn't make those people unfat. If people are not allowed to see models that look like them or wear clothes that fit them, it doesn't mean they become thin and change their whole life. It means they don't wear clothes that fit them, and they cost more money for less quality, which is discriminatory. It means they feel lonely and isolated and cut off from society because they can't access transport or go into places to socialize. It means that they are pushed out of society, into the margins, which makes them more inaccessible for help and support. Western society is getting fatter. This is indisputable. Fat acceptance is trying to lay the groundwork to not put fat people into the firing line because they are fat and that's it. It's about dignity and respect for people and putting the blame where it belongs, at food manufacturers, at diet companies, in the deep medical and social discrimination that marginalized communities face, and at society's fixation with your value as a person being tied up with your body and unable to separate them. Fat people are still people. Most people don't have the energy to argue with people who have clearly already made up their mind. It's not that people are accepting of it, but we are all attempting to love ourselves and each other without having the shame of people telling us how fat we are. Edit. Removed first sentence. Fat acceptance is only something I know through memes. I have never IRL met anyone who was part of it or even talked about the movement. Have you? There are many reasons someone's weight may fluctuate. Medical conditions, genetics, lifestyle, eating disorders, etc. It is not any of our places to decide what is and isn't a burden for somebody else. Let's face it. When is the last time you saw a stranger walking down the street and could say with 100% certainty that they are living a healthy lifestyle? You can't. Why? Because you don't know them. I know people who are thin as needles who have never touched a vegetable willingly in their life. And I know fat people who have gone on diets, work out every day, and still can't lose weight. But the reason fat acceptance is dominating Western media is because people shouldn't be ashamed of themselves no matter why they are the way that they are. You wouldn't say that acne acceptance is promoting unhealthy lifestyle because people with acne can just wash their face for their skin to magically clear. You wouldn't say that bleaching your hair is an unhealthy lifestyle because the chemicals are toxic and kill your hair. You wouldn't say that gym freaks who starve themselves and live off of protein shakes are promoting an unhealthy lifestyle simply because they look healthy and post photos from the gym every day. If someone is fat and happy, let them be fat and happy. Also, you're just being generally an asshole to anyone who doesn't immediately say, "I hate fat people" and "they all suck" in the replies of this post, so don't ask a question if you're afraid of any answer that isn't the one you want. I'm mid-sized after 2 kids. Not skinny, not obese, but I think it just has to do with body accepting all around. Like some people eat because of past traumatic experiences. One girl I know told me she eats a lot so she won't be raped again. Some people have hormonal imbalances and can't lose the weight on their own. Like, why should it even matter what someone does or doesn't do with their own body? It's not yours. Supportive is an iffy word. Most people who are somewhat in shape are not down to date someone who is fat. I think at best people just don't see a point at insulting these people, and it would be better to focus efforts on curbing childhood obesity, since most obese people were obese kids. There's not a single person on this earth who wouldn't want to be a bit more fit than they are now. Positive change in habits that enables lasting change in physical fitness takes serious effort and follow through. And it's difficult enough without having every self-appointed fitness guru come over every chance they get to hammer home how bad the extra pounds are for you. The evangelical enfattening advocate strawman aside, the whole point of the movement is to let fat people be people. Let them exist and exercise and eat and hang out in public spaces without having judgmental busybodies butting in about their bodies. That's all. The question here seems to be essentially, why are there social consequences if people act in a rude way? Since, giving unprompted and malinformed health advice is in fact rude. I mean, I really don't care how others choose to live. I used to be obese and lost 90 pounds to become fit because I hated being fat. But I also see no reason to impose that kind of change for others. As to why, this movement was originally pointed more towards self-love. But self-love also means taking care of yourself and becoming a better person than you were yesterday. Like, my form of self-love was losing all that weight. I also feel like the fat acceptance thing is just superficial for the public. They can sing praises about it all they want. But what I personally experienced was that I got 100x more positive attention when I lost all the weight. Those actions speak louder than anyone telling me, it's okay to be fat, or anything like that. I think it started out as just for people to stop insulting fat people. Which is a good reason. Because it's kinda dick-ish. But as time passed it turned into more of a glorification of being fat. And they take offense to the most minute of words. Like being reminded that their body type is not healthy. I think a better way to do is to accept that fat people exist. But at the same time, those people have to care about their health and try to be as fit as can be. Not supermodel fit. Just not fat enough that could cause major life problems. Weight loss takes time. And people deserve to make changes in a supported environment. Most fat people know they are fat and they didn't specifically choose to become that way. Whether it happened because of poor mental health or an eating disorder or any other reason. These people deserve to feel like a human as they take control of their lives back. Most fat people are trying to make changes and instead of tearing them down with cruel words. Coming from a place of understanding and support can really change the way they feel about themselves and encourage them to keep going when they feel isolated and full of self-loathing. I'm only 30 to 40 pounds overweight and I'm experiencing blatant fat phobia from my parents. I injured my back 2 years ago on a trampoline and now have a pinched nerve. Possibly more. Along with a pre-existing pelvic tilt. My parents refused to let me use my healthcare card to get an appointment to assess my injury and treatment. They say it's just my weight. It's just because I'm fat. I never had this pain before that injury and at this point I don't think I'll ever live pain-free. Again, my own parents deny me healthcare because of some extra pounds. My back, hip, and right leg constantly burn and sometimes tingle from this injury. I'm by no means obese. Nor am I fit or athletic. But am still suffering. This goes for many people. Some extra weight deny us care. And supposedly deserves us suffering and pain. My favorite poetry author sums up fat phobia perfectly. If you develop an eating disorder when you were already thin to begin with, you go to the hospital. If you develop an eating disorder when you were not already thin to begin with, you are a success story. So when I evaporated, of course everyone congratulated me on getting healthy. Blythe Baird, when the fat girl gets skinny. I don't think you understand that 100% of people do not have the same beliefs. Not everyone is accepting of the movement. Obviously including you. I think you also have the misunderstanding that fat people as a whole think it's okay to be fat. Most of us are definitely aware that it's a health problem. But we don't need people to shove it down our throats at all times. I don't go around telling people who drink alcohol that they're poisoning their bodies. Also, you can't know the reason why a person is fat without knowing them. Maybe they're having psychological problems. Maybe they have health problems that make it hard to lose weight. Maybe they don't have a lot of time and energy to eat because of the amount of hours they need to work to support their families. Maybe they just make bad choices. But it's none of your damn business to bring it up unless you're their doctor, spouse, family. Edit. Also, why does nobody ever post questions about other eating disorders? You don't see people making posts about people with anorexia or bulimia being an issue that should be tackled. Maybe there has been, but not to the extent that fat people get. How is it fair that most of the food that is readily accessible to me as a poor person is absolute garbage? Probably ties into childhood bullying. Because we're all fat. I'm not pro-fat or whatever those people call it, but I also don't want someone taking the piss out of my weight. Because being fat is one facet of unhealthy. In America, many are literally worked to death or become homeless because our minimum wage doesn't allow you to protect yourself. So often obesity is an unhealthy coping tool, but most Americans cope unhealthy in some way. Body positivity is more rare and toxic, but body neutrality helps people. Body positivity says, everyone is desirable and FCKable, so you don't need to change, and if you lose weight it's self-hate. That toxicity has gained traction because being fat often subjects you to such abuse. They want to feel good about themselves, not just accept themselves. Body positivity brings feelings of justice. Body neutrality says, your body is the least interesting part of you. You don't need to be beautiful. You need to be content with what your body can do. QND had room for people who can't get thin for whatever circumstances, maybe a disorder, maybe overactive panic from PTSD that convinces your body to hold any weight you can. Maybe they don't have the drive to lose it or even want to lose it. But it also holds space for not liking being fat, but fat is where you are in life, so you're working to lose it. It has space for disabled people whose bodies won't ever look normal, regardless of if they're thin or fat. It holds space for each person being able to make the choice if they want to be unhealthy. We don't treat people who lose sleep playing video games as repulsive for not being healthy. We don't yell "smoker" at people to insult them. We don't tell people, how will people ever love you if you're addicted to your phone? We don't say, damn, you like salty snacks, you're disgusting. There's so many unhealthy things we do. That body neutrality says, do what helps you feel good in your body. There's room for self-love and enjoying the journey for everyone. Even if I disagree with your choices, you must want it, but until then self-hate helps no one. But body positivity feels better than body neutrality. I think body neutrality creates a place for people to decide to change and do better according to their own drive, and body positivity enables bad habits as the only choice because self-love. Body positivity feels like justice. It feels good, it enables, and we live in a world where we don't have a lot of energy after work, so that enabling especially feels nice. There's an obesity crisis that's becoming a bigger problem across the whole world. I mean basically on a species level. And although we know how to get individuals to lose weight, we currently do not have a global solution to the systemic problem that as society develops, people will overconsume calories. This is a growing problem in many, if not most countries, from Kuwait to China to Argentina. It's not unlikely that maybe one day the average human might be obese. As a group becomes a majority, I think it becomes harder to shame or belittle them, as obviously it affects enough people to become normalized. Also, fat shaming is associated with more weight gain, so it's not like it's gonna help. Because nearly everyone in the Western world is fat. Lol.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.